Think all new construction is the same? Well, think again. What about something like this? Or something like this one? What about something like this? And what about something beautiful like this one? Yeah, so all of those homes is a totally different construction process. Trust me, I don't want you to get in bed with the builder until you know exactly what's behind the drywall, if you know what I mean. Because once you're in too deep, there's no pulling out. All right, so I don't want you to get bamboozled by the whole new construction process like I did. So today I am breaking it all down. One, how each type of build works, and there's 4 different types, how the money really flows, what the timelines look like here in Las Cruces, and then we're gonna actually talk about 4 different types of construction. And stick around to the end because I'm gonna share with you some of the god-awful experience we had when building our new construction home, something I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. So all right, let's do this.
Kacie in the LC, Kacie in the LC, Kacie in the LC, yeah.
Hey y'all, it's Kacie, your Las Cruces real estate bestie, and today we're diving into 4 different types of new construction homes that you will find here in Las Cruces. And exactly what you kind of need to know about the building process, the money side, how long it really takes to build these homes here in Las Cruces. So quick tip, if you didn't know, you can actually hit that little bell and it'll notify you every single time I post a new video. Pretty cool, right? So go ahead and like, subscribe, and comment below, and let's go ahead and dive in. So the first type of home that we are gonna chat about is production homes. So production homes are super common in Las Cruces. If you look around, most of the neighborhoods like Metro Verde, Red Hawk, and Sonoma Ranch are filled with them. Mostly are built by Desert View Homes, Edward Homes, Hakes Brothers, KT, and other builders. Developer buys huge tracts of lands, develop it, and then each of the builders typically buy 50 to 100 lots and develop on those lots. So once they're divided and developed on, you, the buyer, can choose from typically like 4 to 6 different floor plans and finishes. So it's a very streamlined process, very affordable, and a pretty simple, the least stress that you're gonna have to deal with during the entire build process. So let's talk about financing with production homes. So financing, there are different type of loan types. There's FHA, conventional, VA, and no matter which type of production or which type of home I'm talking about, cash is obviously always an option. I'm just putting that out there so I don't have to repeat it every single time. Here in New Mexico, you can actually use MFA financing, which is for first-time home buyers. They give huge incentives to help first-time home buyers with income limits get into and purchase a home. I have helped hundreds of first-time home buyers use that MFA program, which is pretty darn cool. So if you do need information on that, please hit me up. So typically with the production homes, you're gonna need a down payment with FHA of about 3.5%. VA, of course, is 0%, and conventional anywhere from 3 to 20% is typical. That 3% is if you're like a first-time home buyer with a conventional loan, but other than that, it's typically a little bit more, but very simple numbers to keep in your head. All of these, except for cash, will need appraisals, and the appraisal is done when the build is pretty much nearly complete and almost closed. Earnest money on a production home here in Las Cruces is actually pretty crazy low. I have talked to other realtors in different areas, or when people relocate here, they're like, wait, what? That's the earnest money? So our earnest money on most of the new construction is $500. That's it. You put $500 down and they will build you a production home, which is pretty crazy. Or the home is already built and you put $500 down. There's some certain guidelines, and we'll get into that a little bit later, but for the most part, they require as little as $500 down for earnest money, and it can go up to $1,000. So still pretty darn cheap. Build time for production homes is about 4 to 6 months from lot selection to closing. Now, if the production home is near completion, clearly that number is going to change, but from start to finish, 4 to 6 months. And once you choose your lot, prove your finances. The builder has to submit all the paperwork to the city for permits, and once everything is approved, then they can actually start the build. So let's go into some pros and some cons of production builds. Number one, they are definitely more affordable. It is a faster build time. It's definitely a streamlined selection process. It's so great for newer neighborhoods. Typically the lots are a little bit smaller, and so you get a lot more people in the neighborhoods, which could be, I guess, a good thing and a bad thing. But most of the production homes here in Las Cruces have tons of parks near all of the houses. Like every couple streets there's another park, which I personally love, especially with having kids. There's oftentimes a lot of builder incentives as well. And so if you select a lot, you not only get to have a say in the location within that subdivision, whatever's available, you get to choose the colors, the builder, like the interior and exterior colors. The builder will typically have like 5 to 6 boards with different color palettes to include floor tile, backsplash, faucet colors, exterior paint. So there is some customization without all the stress of picking from millions of different selections if you were to build a different type. So you can literally say, hey, I want the Redondo color palette, and all the small details are already done. So all the tile is picked, all the colors are picked, all the paint colors are picked. You just say, that's the color palette I want, and done. Sometimes you get to choose from like 5 different color stuccos as well, which makes the color selection a little bit maybe more difficult or exciting, but you still get some customization with your house. It's just not as stressful of a process. Let's talk about some of the cons with production building. So some of the cons are limited floor plan options. It can feel very cookie cutter. There's definitely less flexibility on all options, and you typically only have, like I just said, 5 to 6 color palettes to choose from, and additional customization is not an option most of the time. Upgrades can definitely add up and get pretty pricey. Typically, you can high-five your neighbor from inside your house because they are very, very close lots. Also, with this new construction production homes, there is no backyard landscaping whatsoever, and then the front yard landscaping is already selected for you. You don't get to choose any of the landscaping. They typically have a section of river rock, 1 tree, 5 plants, and rock yard. Some of them are now starting to do some turf in the front yard, which is amazing, just to give it some color to the front yards, and it looks so much more beautiful and grand. But that's it. There's dirt in the backyard. What you see is what you get. The plans that they install is what you get for production homes. One other con is there is the same 5 to 6 homes on repeat in your neighborhood. Luckily, there is several different elevations to the production homes. And elevation is like the front of the home, what you see, the facade of what you see in the front. There's typically 3 to 4 different elevations. So if both of you chose the Kacie plan, then Kacie plan is gonna have like a Spanish look, a more modern look, a more Tuscan look, and so you can choose from like 3 to 4 different elevations. You can choose brick or all stucco. So that is what's really nice about that. So it's not as Stepford wives as it could be. They used to be definitely more Stepford wives, but they have gotten so much better with production homes, which I love. Okay, let's talk about option number 2, which are spec homes. So spec homes are a great option if you don't want to wait to build, and the builder has already chosen the lot, the floor plan, the finishes, and list it basically as move-in ready or darn near close to completion. So these are perfect if you're relocating or just need to move quickly and don't want to deal with all of the different building selections and decisions. Most of the time, these homes are production homes, like the ones that I just talked about, but not always. You sometimes see some custom builders who build spec homes of their product, and instead of having like a model home, they use the spec homes to showcase what kind of quality they build and are able to do. They do have homes ready to purchase. Sometimes production, occasionally custom. So the different loan types with spec homes are all the same: cash, FHA, VA, and conventional financing. Since this is already done, you can get the FHA financing, which is 3.5% down, VA financing again 0%, conventional 3 to 20%, and this still does qualify for MFA loans if you qualify for MFA loan. Appraisal is normal. Appraisal gets done with the production or the spec homes. It's typically a 30-day close. and the appraisal gets done towards the very end. So the deposit on these type of spec homes is also $500 to $1,000. So cheap here in Las Cruces, New Mexico. The timeline for closing is anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks. If you have cash and the house is done, you can close in 2 weeks. We just have to do title searches and make sure everything is good, and that's what takes the 2 weeks. Make sure surveys are done, all of that. If it is a loan, it takes up to 4 weeks. If it is MFA financing, it typically takes up to 6 weeks. Just keep that in mind. Let's talk about some of the pros with spec homes. One, they are move-in ready. There is no decision fatigue. New home perks and warranties. So just like the spec or the production home, spec homes still have the new builder home warranty, which all builders in New Mexico are required to offer a 1-year home builder warranty, which is cool. And it's also fast and easy financing because you don't have to worry about anything. It's already done, and you just have to be able to qualify for the loan, do all the steps, and the home is yours 30 days later. The cons to this is there is zero customization. You may need a compromise on any of the finishes and any of the floor plans. And then lastly, you may not actually get the lot that you want in the location that you want because it is the only house that's available that might be that 4-bedroom, 2-bath that you needed. So there's definitely some cons to the spec homes that are already done. All right, so third type of house is semi-custom home. Semi-custom homes gives you more flexibility. You can tweak layouts, pick higher end finishes, but you don't need to hire an architect. If there are any structural modifications, if the builder allows it, they typically have their own architect and can change things around. There is definitely a fee associated with any of these modifications, but it is worth it if you were able to get that third car garage added on. Some of the production builders have semi-custom options. There are several builders who specialize in this type of build. I can definitely help you and hook you up with who those builders are. The builders are going to have to own the lot on these semi-custom homes. Most of the builders are not going to build on your lot. That is strictly for custom builds. Builder-owned lot, the down payment could be much different. If it is a builder-owned lot, they might require 3.5% to 20% down, because if you are doing lots of different customizations on one of their production, say you chose the Kacie model and you wanted that third car garage, you wanted an extended patio, you want a huge massive walk-in shower instead of a tub, they have to pay for all of these things, and it's not what their typical build would be. So you can customize it, but they typically charge a fee on those customizations. So say if it's $50,000 worth of custom items, they typically charge like a 10% fee just for those, in addition to the down payment. So the down payment could be $1,000, it could be several thousand. But then they charge on top of that whenever you go to the design meetings based off of how much changes that you did. So no matter what, on semi-custom homes, you won't have to worry about getting the loan. The builder typically still gets the loan because it's on their lots. Build time for semi-custom homes is typically 6 to 8 months here in Las Cruces. Let's talk about some of the pros. So definitely more flexible. You can get higher end fill because you get to choose different fixtures and different light fixtures. There's typically no architect required. It is faster than full-on custom homes, but some of the cons are upgrades can definitely blow your budget. You can't change everything still just because it is a semi-custom and it's not full custom. It definitely gets overwhelming having to choose everything or having the option to choose from more than just 5 different color palettes, and timelines may be delayed due to certain custom features, but it might be worth it for sure. So let's talk about fully custom homes. Woo, 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 woo. Okay, so this one's gonna be long. So go ahead, pour yourself a glass of wine, grab yourself a beer, get yourself some coffee. So the last option of fully custom homes, this is where you get to design everything, the layout, the finishes, the lot choice, the front elevation, the brick that goes on it, the color of stucco, the lights, everything is up to you. It is your dream home. You can fully customize it from top to bottom. You can customize the thickness of walls, the type of insulation, the type of plumbing, you name it, the type of water heater you end up with. it's pretty darn cool. So this type of build here in Las Cruces is common in Dripping Springs area, Talavera, Vineyards, North Valley, even where I live. So North Valley and acreage lots around Las Cruces, kind of like where I live on an acre. So the different type of financing. Financing is a doozy with this type of construction, so let's get to it. Every lender is going to have different lending requirements, so I am going to just discuss some of the main ones that I have experienced personally here in Las Cruces. So the loan type, there is a construction to permanent loan. Down payment typically is about 20%, some could be 10%, but we'll talk about that. Appraisal is done upfront based off of plans and specs because they need to know how much they're actually getting the construction loan for and how much your house is worth. And then an appraisal gets done later down the line. There is loan draws. So basically the builder is paid in draws. You pay interest only during the build. And land purchase. So if you don't already own the land, land can be included in the construction loan, but the entire budget must include land and build cost. So here is a full breakdown of a construction loan and the terms. So construction loan are usually for a max of 12 months, after which the construction loan will be paid off by a permanent mortgage loan. So there's typically a 2 closing process. You close on the construction loan and then you close on the permanent loan. Side note, there are some lenders in town, I have their contact information, that do a one-time close. So you can save a bunch of fees. You lock in the interest rate right up front, so you don't have the construction interest rate and the other interest rate. You lock it in right at the beginning, which would have been so helpful during COVID when interest rates started flying higher and higher and higher. Anyways, I digress. Let's go back to the actual process. So all construction loan applicants will have to get pre-qualified with a mortgage department so that they know at the end of the construction period that once there's a permanent loan in place for financing that you actually qualify for it and they're just not handing a bunch of money away. So the construction loan is restricted to 75% of the appraised value or 75% of total cost. So the lot cost plus the construction cost, whichever is less. If your lot is paid off, it does count towards your 25%. You will have to have the remaining balance at closing. So for example, because that still is clear as mud, right? So for example, if your construction cost is $800,000, 25% of that needs to be a down payment or your lot cost, or a combination of both. So 25% of $800,000 is $200,000. They will only finance $600,000 because that is 75% of the $800,000. So any lender for new construction is only going to finance that $600,000. If your lot cost was $125,000, you will need a minimum of $75,000 in order to start the new construction loan process, since the down payment is restricted to 75% of the appraised value. So there are a few other bank charges like origination fees, inspection fees. The construction loan currently has like a higher interest rate than standard mortgages as well. So whatever the current mortgage rate is on the market, add like 1 to 2% to that. And that is the number that your construction loan interest rate is going to be for the duration of the new construction process. For example, if the mortgage loans are 6% on new construction, your new construction interest rate is going to be about 8%. There are several different ways your builder can get paid as well. Say they do a cost plus situation and your home is $800,000, the cost plus might be 18%. So the builder will make 18% off of everything you buy. And this could definitely be a very complicated situation because everything is shared. Like you have to share every invoice. So say if you went to the store and bought countertops and those countertops were $20,000, the builder gets 18% of that. It can definitely get complicated because you guys share spreadsheets. Everybody has to share all the information. Most builders don't do that because of how complicated it can be. And most lenders don't like that approach because of how complicated the situation can be. So if your builder chooses to do draws on certain amounts, those amounts get released based off of the progress of the home. So if the homeowner gets the construction loan themselves, the bank will release a certain amount for that construction cost and a certain amount to the builder on each draw. If the builder takes out the construction loan, the bank doesn't pay the builder until the very end, and each draw there is interest no matter what type of person got it, if it's the construction, if it's the contractor, or if it's the owner. Every time that there is a draw, there's interest paid on that draw. So for example, the lumber draw is $40,000. The builder or the owner will be responsible for paying 8% interest on that $40,000, and every month they're gonna have a payment until the next draw. Say if the next draw is $100,000 because of whatever they did, now you have $140,000 that you're paying 8% interest on, and that month you owe 8% interest on $140,000. And every month, no matter how much money gets taken for the draw, you owe that much more interest on the amount that's taken out. So it can get very costly very quick. So moral of the story, the more you draw, the more interest payment gets. And it starts out very small that first month and you're like, oh, this is totally doable, but it can definitely get large by the very end of the build. And the longer that build takes, the more you're paying on interest, and it can suck. So definitely run all those numbers ahead and try to figure out what $600,000 interest is going to end up being, because it adds up to big monthly payments. Another thing to research on doing a custom home is the land. So it's not as easy as you think, because all land has different prep work. Some of the land is already, like the land that I bought was already prepped. A development of like 8 different houses on 2 cul-de-sacs. All the infrastructure was there. The dirt work was done. The millions of dollars that the developer put into it was already done before we purchased the lot. Not all lots are equal. So some of the lots you definitely need to do some research, bring your builder out, bring soil engineers, different people out, and do all a cost analysis to figure out how much it's going to cost you to build this house. So for example, does the dirt, is it all clay? And does it have to have a ton of dirt actually brought in to have a sturdy structure? Does it have utilities already on the land, or do those lines have to be brought in? Does it have to have water lines, gas lines, electric lines, etc.? And does it have a fence? You have to factor in all of those costs, especially in Las Cruces. Pretty much every single subdivision requires our Las Cruces stone fence, Las Cruces rock wall, and it's actually in the covenants of Las Cruces rock wall must be added to this subdivision, and it is labor intensive. It is very expensive. So for example, on a 1 acre lot, if you have to fence in the full acre, like 3 different sides of the acre, it could cost about $40,000 just for the fence, which is crazy. So factor in those costs and make sure your builder factors in those costs, so you're not getting stuck with a $40,000 bill because that was not factored in, and now you need a fence and you can't afford it, because that would suck. So depending on how much dirt work and how much work is required, like how much clay, how big your house is, how much prep, it could be $30,000 plus in just dirt work just to put the house on top. Getting water lines, like up in the Talavera area, because it's really rocky and close to the Oregon Mountains, that could cost like $50,000. So true story, one of my builder friends was telling me that they had a client that was going to buy a piece of land up in Talavera, and it was a steal of a deal for this land. So before they bought it and before they built it, they did all their due diligence. They figured out what the cost would be to get utilities, all of those things. The water was going to be $50,000 to run the line, and it wasn't even very far, but just how the infrastructure was to get it to that lot would cost $50,000. So clearly they could have bought a much bigger piece of land and not have to deal with that. So they did not end up buying that particular land, but do your due diligence first. All right, so new construction timeline typically takes anywhere from 8 months to over a year, depending on level of detail and prep. So when I say over a year, we're talking to design the floor plans, to get all of to figure out which land and lot you're gonna buy, to maybe close on that lot before you close on the new construction land. The new construction loan is what I meant to say. all of that could take several months before you even get into the build process. Once you get into the build process and permits are pulled, that is what takes about 8 to 12 months. Most construction loans have to be done by 12 months, no matter what. So your builder has to get to it and they have to finish by 12 months. So let's talk about some of the pros and cons of new construction. The pros, it is 100% your vision. Like what you want done is gonna get done, which is great. You have full design freedom, which is so exciting and amazing, especially if you're gonna spend that money. You could build on your dream lot or whatever lot you want. You are not stuck in a subdivision like some of the other builds that I was talking about. You can pick wherever you wanna build. And it can end up being your ultimate forever home with whatever finishes you want, whatever size rooms you want, whatever size thickness of walls you want, whatever water heater you want. It is full customization. So let's talk about some of the cons. It's expensive. It can be really expensive because let's be honest, like most of us have like this champagne taste on a beer budget, and the things that we really, really like and we really, really want cost money. So it could definitely be expensive. It is the longest timeline out of all the builds. So if you're ready to go, this isn't something that's a quick thing. It's 8 to 12 months. So the financing is definitely more complex, and personal advice, I would certainly get the construction loan yourself if you can do that, if your contractor is fine with it, because one, you have full control of the money. The lender has to ask you if you're ready to release the money for a draw. I know in my situation, every single time that the builder did something, they would call me and say, hey, the builder is ready to take another draw. Do you allow it? And if they said something was done and it really wasn't, I would say absolutely not. They have not finished XYZ that they're telling you they finished. They need to come and finish it before you can do the draw. And so you kind of keep track of the money a whole lot better that way. I liked it. And then you have full control afterwards as well, which I personally prefer. But not everybody can afford monthly draws or the interest on the draws, and so they'd rather the contractor do it. But with custom homes, most of the contractors are gonna make you get your own financing, especially if it's a lot you already own. Now, if it's a lot you haven't purchased yet and they're bundling the land and the construction cost all together, they will get the loan on that. But we have to figure out which builder will do that. I mean, I have a list of which builders will do that. So keep that in mind when building. Also, lot prep cost, another con, lot prep cost could definitely be unexpected and costly, so something to take into consideration. And it is overwhelming to choose everything. It can break up marriages. It can make you question your sanity. It is one of the most stressful processes in your life. It's absolutely rewarding, but it is stressful. Choosing from a million different tile selections, it's a lot. And making and hoping to goodness that they match whenever you put the things together, it's very stressful. So if you don't like stress, I don't know, it may not be for you. So here's a summary recap. So there is one thing real quick that all of these builds do have in common, and that is impact fees. And that is something that is not talked about enough here in Las Cruces. But no matter what, if you are building a new construction and it's a production home, it's a spec home, semi-custom or full custom, there is going to be impact fees associated with the cost of that house. So impact fees are basically a fee passed on from the utility companies to the consumer, and it is for the infrastructure being brought to your subdivision, to your street, to your home. So think gas lines, think septic lines, water, and electric. Those companies, it costs millions of dollars for them to put in that infrastructure and to use their electricity and use all of their infrastructure. There is a cost associated. So the developer pays their impact fee, the builder pays their impact fee, and the buyer, the consumer, ends up paying their impact fee after closing. So you close on your house, you go to turn on utilities in your name, and those utility companies will say, great, thank you so much, you have an impact fee. Would you like to pay the entire thing right now? Or would you like to pay it on monthly installments? You can take out like a loan from them. And so you pay tiny little bits every single month, and it is like a small little interest associated with it. But impact fees could be anywhere from like $800 to $3,000, and it's all dependent on where you are located and how much it costs the utility companies to install the infrastructure. So Please keep that in mind and budget for that after closing. Oh, side note, if you sell your house before 5 years and you are financing that impact fee and you haven't paid it off yet, when you close, that will be part of your closing cost to pay off the full amount. It is something that you cannot pass along to the next buyer, just FYI. Okay, so quick recap. Production homes are affordable and fast and oftentimes has buyer incentives, especially here in Las Cruces. Spec homes are move-in ready, which is awesome. Semi-custom homes are flexible without the full custom price tag. And then fully custom homes, dream home that you can fully personalize. And the best part is in Las Cruces, we have every single one of those options. And I work with every single one of those builders here in town. So if you're thinking about new construction, please reach out. I can connect you with the right builder, set up appointments based on exactly what you want, and we can even hop on like a new construction exploration Zoom call to go over everything and figure out which type of build is the best for you and your budget and your timeline. Also, I have some of the best lenders in town that I can connect you with that totally know the new construction process inside and out. So just ask me for my lender list and I can send it to you. So remember, I promised y'all like my horror story with my builder. So here it is. When I built my house, I thought I had everything covered, but it turns out that my builder gave me like a cost on the home and a budget for the home and said, yes, I can definitely build the home for that much, but it was a full-on lie. So we told him the types of finishes that we wanted, the types of appliances we wanted, we wanted that double refrigerator. We even designed the house with a space for that huge double refrigerator because we have 4 kids. And when it got time for selections, it like turned into a complete nightmare. So our builder gave us an allowance of $16,000 for all cabinets, all countertops in our home. So mind you, we have a 3.5 bathroom home, a laundry room, a large kitchen, and a butler style pantry, all that will require cabinets and countertops. That $16,000 didn't even cover the kitchen cabinets, let alone the rest of the house, cabinets and countertops. Then he gave us a $5,000 budget or allowance for appliances. Like I can't even buy a double oven for $5,000, let alone one of those double refrigerators that we specifically designed the house with. Those are $10,000 each, which I did not know when I designed the house. But those are $10,000 each. He knew that that's what we wanted in the house. He gave us $5,000. We had a double oven on our plans. We had that big refrigerator on our plans. Just those two alone was like $15,000. I mean, when I designed it, I have no clue what the cost was with this, but he is a builder and he should have done the research and figured it out. $5,000 total appliance allowance. Then to top it all off, he gave us a lighting package allowance for $1,500. Like WTF. We have 7 fans inside our house, 2 fans on the outside of our house. That $1,500 didn't even include 2 fans because fans are actually really, really expensive. So $1,500 for all of that. That doesn't include every exterior light. That didn't include any interior lights, vanity lights, canned lights, nothing. Those are just some of the horrors we had to deal with our builder. So since he budgeted such a small and unpractical amount for each category, we actually had to pay the difference out of pocket. Like we already bought the land a couple years before. We already had to put down our down payment. Remember that the builder or the lender won't lend more than 75% of the loan cost. So we already had to put money down. And then now we're writing checks for all the things that should have been budgeted ahead of time in the loan that we pay over 30 years. So we had to just write a check. And all he had to do was tell us like, yes, I could build your home for this much, but this is gonna be the allowance amount for all of the things that you want. But in order to buy the finish that you want, this is what it's gonna be. But instead, he was like a complete snake, reeled us in, convinced us to build with him, said he could do it for the budget, but was such a conniving snake with the actual cost that it took to build the house. So yeah, he shared what the allowances were once we were in way too deep. Like we're talking foundation was poured, we had the framing done, and then he was like, okay, let's start selecting things here's your budget. We were like, you've got to be kidding me. So that was super, super frustrating. And those are just some of the mistakes that our builder made, and that some of the mistakes that we had to learn from. And so I definitely learned the hard way on full new construction homes. I have helped so many people with the production, with the spec, with the semi-custom, but never full custom like this. So I would not wish this experience on my worst enemy. Like, truly, it was a horrible experience, and I fully regret choosing the builder that we did because of the experience that we had, because it should be a happy experience. But with that being said, I have vetted tons of new construction builders, and I have a list of great new construction builders that if I were to do it all over again, this is the list that I would choose from. So if you want that, let's connect. So anyways, don't be shy, DM me, email me, or comment below, and let's get started on some new construction. And of course, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell and comment below. Tell me which type of new construction home you would love to build here in Las Cruces. This is Kacie in the LC. Bye.
Yo, it's Kacie in the LC. Keys to the dream, come and ride with me. Homes, views, life where you wanna be. Las Cruces, living. Kacie in the LC. Kacie in the LC. Kacie in the LC. Yeah. Kacie in the LC. Yeah. Kacie.